why I'm telling you about best practices first before telling you about framework. So whenever you work in any company or any project, you choose any type of framework based on the requirement. But these best practices helps you independent of any framework. So framework could be anything, but these best practices will gonna help you whether you are going to work on some small projects, large projects, keyword driven framework, data driven framework, or could be anything. Okay, so we as a leads actually review these kind of best practices while we review code commits or PRs. Okay, so that's why I wanted to start with best practices before giving you the framework and starting creating the framework. So first best practices is basically following the programming language guidelines. So if you see, so today I'm gonna work on Eclipse. I hope everyone has Eclipse. Everything is ready. So uh, if you're working for the Eclipse for the first time, just try Hello World program. Just try and run it. Create a simple Java class and just try and run it so that we are sure that Java is configured properly and Eclipse is working fine. Right? So now you can see. So when you create a class, the class name starts with capital C. Let's say I try to start it with C. See, you get an error, right? So all these are programming languages guidelines that method name should start with first letter of the word should start with small, and then the other parts should start with capital. Class name, every word, every letter should start with capital. Package name, everything should remain in small caps. Okay, and variable name again follows the method name. Yes, all these are coding standards. Okay, so this is the primary one. I see a lot of people doing or creating method without any convention. They use it like G with capital, class with small, package name they added anything. It should be in this format and always have some readable names. Okay, don't create something like one default package and something like that. This is not a good practice. Okay, now the second and the most important one. Okay, the second and most important word is following the OOPS concept. Okay, so as you know, the main OOPS concepts which helps you. So OOPS are basically gives you some rules and guidance. So let's say you are, so before you ride a plane, you need some rules and guidance like you need to do this, you need to do this during takeoff, you need to do this during landing, you need to do this. So all these guidelines will help you to run your plane smoothly. Similarly, all these OOPS concepts will help you to code smoothly, will help you to scale your code easily, will help you to distribute your code between team members easily. Okay, so always follows these OOPS concept. First is abstraction. Abstraction is basically abstracting the data from. So let's say I can give you an example. In most of the frameworks, we will create for reusability purpose. We will create a base class, and then we will create other test classes. So now this base class will other test classes will inherit this base class, and this base class will be abstract class. Okay, so there would be a lot of implementation, but the test class based on their requirement can modify the default implementation of the base class. Okay, so and base class, which is an abstract class, cannot be accessed by anywhere else apart from the child classes. Okay, so it makes sure that only childs are using those base classes. It makes sure that if required, childs can modify the parent entities and parent behavior, and it also makes sure that invocation is not possible, object creation and invocation is not possible in anywhere throughout the framework, because with every object creation we are giving a possibility of releasing a memory or introducing a possibility of memory leak. So whenever there is a possibility, don't try to create objects. Objects are required only when there is a no other way. If possible, always use abstraction and interfaces based on requirement. Again, in API framework, we will see uh, less interfaces, because in API we have one API driver, that is a rest assured thing that will take care all the test cases. But when you work on UI, our driver has multiple implementation. So a driver have Chrome driver implementation, which will be different from Eco driver, which will be different from I driver, which will be different from Edge driver, and so on. So in those cases, interface also makes good candidate to use in these driver manager classes. Okay. Polymorphism, again, if there is a method where the implementation can differ based on parameters. So this is a normal method, let's say. Okay. So this is called method. Under that, you could have any statement. Let's say return. Okay. So this is your return type, right? This is your method name. These are your method parameters. Okay. So now in future, let's say we need another function where the parameters can differ. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. So rather than creating a different method example 2, what we do, we create the same method with different parameters. Okay. This is what a polymorphism is. Similarly, it can differ based on this data type. Okay, and we're gonna use this data type. So I'll give you some brief about JSON path. So we're gonna play around with JSON path a lot today. So when you make a request, in case as we see yesterday that we were making request and we are getting the response in JSON format, right? So now in case we need to extract certain data from JSON, what is okay. So now if we need to extract certain data from JSON to verify or use it in the next request, as we see, output from the first request used in second request, this kind of thing, we need JSON, we need the knowledge of JSON path, and then rest assured provides a JSON path class which helps us to extract data from responses based on JSON path. Similarly, the concept is basically mostly based on XPath, but then XPath have lot of things here. uh, Comparatively it is easier compared to XPath. So let's say you need to extract data Urdu, right? So your XPath would be, this is the parent one, Indo-European, right? Then Indo-Iranian dot Indic dot Urdu. This website JSON path finder will help you to find any JSON path very easily. You can just click and find out the XPath, and in your case you have to just replace this with the, so let's say we created an object of rest assured response. We can say response dot, this is my XPath. Okay, so this is my JSON path. So this JSON path will help us to extract any data from JSON responses. Now in this case, in our responses, sometimes we will get a list. So this is a list, right? Sometimes we will get a single value. So this is a single value. Sometimes we will get value in string format, sometime we will get a value in integer format, and so on. So we don't know, based on API requirement, whatever how the schema implemented by developers, it would be different for different cases. So in those cases, we can't define the data type as integer, right? It would be different for different cases. So in those cases, we're gonna use generics. We're gonna talk more about generics. So generic is something like this. Okay, so we say that it can accept now any data type. So all these things are part of your polymorphism, where you play around with data type, return data type. You play around with number of parameters. You play around with different kind of parameters. So it could be this also. So you play around all these. So rather than creating a new methods with different names, you create a same method with different things. Prime example of this is when you see find element in UI automation and Selenium. So it accept multiple things. It accept tag name, it accept ID, it accept XPath, right? So all these are accepted, but the method name is same, right? So you can see that there are things. Other prime example is TestNG library, where Azure equals has multiple implementations. Azure equals name remains same, but it is available for Boolean, it is available for string, it is available for integer, and so on. So there are multiple implementation of the same form. So these are all part of polymorphism, and just like the TestNG developers or Selenium developers have done that, if required, we have to do that in our framework as well. So this is also a very important part of following the OOPS concept wherever possible. Data hiding. So always remember to hide unnecessary and sensitive data. How can we do that? The one thing is using access modifier. So when you use class, we have the option to use private, protected, and public access modifiers. Also, in rest assured framework, we're gonna have some sensitive data, just like in GitHub APIs, we have token, right? We don't want our token to be exposed, let's say for DevOps guy who can just see the Jenkins log and capture that token. We don't want to do that. So all these things we want to either send it in encrypted format, or we can hide it. So rest assured provide a way, we will discuss later on. But the other part is this. So this is important, where let's say you are creating an automation utility where you have generated a jar and gave that jar to some client or some other person. Now that person, if you don't have this kind of good access modifiers, that person will defocate the code and then see every code of yours. If everything is public, he will see every classes, he will see everything, and then maybe he can work on it and change something and get clients data, and then your job will be in danger. So in those cases, it is always advisable, always use correct access modifier. So in case someone decodes one of the class file, they are not able to get the access for other classes also. When to use which one? Private. When you are using a class where nothing is needed outside the class, always use private. Okay. And if something is needed outside the class, like in case of Pojo classes, we're gonna see a lot of getter and setters. So we're gonna declare the variables as private, and then we will declare methods as public, like get integer, let's say get ID, get employee ID, and set employee IDs are two variables and two methods for getting the ID and setting the employee ID. Now we can declare employee ID as private, and then we can declare methods as public, because we need these method outside our classes, right? Protected. When you are you need methods only where inheritance is involved. Just like we talked about inheritance and abstraction, there is an inheritance is involved, and you don't want to access those particular variables and method outside the classes where they are not inherited or they are not dependent with each other. Then you declare them as protected. Once you declare them as protected, it is uh, it is needed for both variables as well as methods. once you declare that as protected, it won't be accessed outside the scope of child and parent classes. So always select based on your requirement. Where do you need this variable? Where do you need this method? And based on your requirement, always select correct access modifiers. And in case of any sensitive data, either decrypt it or encrypt it, or use like flag like blacklist header, so that it is not visible in logs or reports for any person who does not know anything about code. Yeah. Okay, encapsulation. Encapsulation is nothing binding small entities in a single large entity. Class is one such example which binds a lot of methods, class, lot of constructors, lot of variables, and so on. And in our API framework, we're gonna see that in case of POJOs, where we will have a very large POJO classes, but then all is binded in under a one class, and then that class object can be accessed from anywhere, and then we provide or manipulate JSON data based or DTOs based on that. Okay, so this is about OOPS concept. Very important. Always remember to use them. This is like a license for riding a aeroplane. Without passing this round, you can't go ahead. So always keep remember to follow this practice. Reduce code duplicacy. Interface, as I said, here in API automation, interfaces are required for two things. Either we have multiple implementation and we are expecting something will change in the future also, then or we need multiple inheritance. In API automation framework, we have only one implementation of rest assured. We don't have multiple implementation of same thing. But I gave you an example. In case of UI automation, there are a lot of interfaces needs to be used because there are multiple interfaces implementation. Just like I said, there is the implementation for Chrome driver, which is different for Gecko driver, and which is different for iDriver. So this API automation framework does not require that in terms of API automation framework, but then in case you are working for a company, then it can be needed. So I'll give you my example. I work for a lending platform company, and I have a lending filter interface. So lending filter interface is different for different users. Some users see only 3 filters, some users see 4 filters, some users see 5 filters, and in the future there could be a requirement to see add or remove some other filters also. In those cases, I have used that, but that is not part of API automation. It is basically part of the application. So in case you need it, you can use it in case of your application demands it. But today for this session, I don't see anywhere we can use this because I can't see any implementation where there would be a change in future or there are multiple implementation involved. So we're gonna use abstraction a lot, but I don't think interface is needed anyway. But in case you want to see an example, I can add that just for the reference. Okay, reduce code duplicacy. Always think before writing your new code. Can I make change in the existing code? What is the meaning of this? Okay, so let's say I have a method which is used. Okay, I have a method where I'm saying give me a sum of two numbers, right? Now let's say in future I want there is a requirement that I want the sum based on a condition where this sum is, so the requirement is there is a flag introduced in the system, new flag. If it is true, then sum is equal to 0, else sum is equal to a plus b. So this is a new requirement added recently. Now what can you do? Either you can create a new method, or you can just modify this method where you can add one more flag here. Okay, and then you can see if flag, then return 0, else return this. Okay, so rather than using or creating a new method, I modified the existing method. And once I do that, I'm going to talk more on this. I need to check this whether this method is not affected in other classes or other tests. So for that, in Eclipse we have call hierarchy, open call hierarchy, where you can see this method is used in which classes. You can just go and test those methods whether it's working or not. In case you are using IntelliJ, there is an option show usage. Just click on that, and then during testing, test all those methods which is getting impacted due to this change. It is a one-time thing, but you are reducing your code so that in future it is able to add multiple conditions also. So always remember, think how can I make change in existing code rather than creating a new code. I see a lot of things, especially in UI automation, where lot of testers they click, so for every button click they create a click method. Click this, click this, click this, click this, click this. They keep on creating that rather than using a generic click method, which takes the XPath as parameter. No, they keep creating new methods. Okay, so always think that we need to reduce duplicacy, or if somebody new joins in your team, what they do, rather than you reusing existing method, they start creating the new methods. Initially you think that okay, this is a one-off thing, but it keeps on happening, and then over a period of time it becomes like the methods become over 100, and then once you do dot, there are hundred of methods are present. Now how will you select which one I need to use? So all these problems will create a lot of issues for you. So always think before writing a new code. Can I make change in existing one? Can I reuse the existing code? Okay. Can I improve something? Can I use a database query instead of writing new code? So always think, can I do that? And if there you find that there is no answer to all of these queries, only then create a new method. Increase code reusability. So let's say I created a generic method. Okay, now in future there is a change. With earlier we are only concentrated on return type, but in future we want to use that for parameters also. Okay, so again, rather than using different method, I can create this. Okay, and then reuse that. Now I have increased the reusability. Earlier it was reusable for return type. Now it is also reusable for data parameters also, meta parameters also. So always try to increase reusability wherever possible. Make your code generic. So again, reusability concept is basically related to two things. One, OOPS concept, basically extraction and interfaces, and the second is generic. So rather than creating different methods based on different data type or based on different parameters, you create a generic code which can handle any data type, which can handle any data parameter. Leave no hard coded data in source code. Okay, I see a lot of people leave hard coded data. So basically they think that let's add a hard coded data, and it is working for now, right? And then that same code is basically run on production, and then on production that data does not work. So, I'm gonna mute everyone. I think there is a lot of new noise.
एक बार दबाओगे तो क्वांटिटी आती है, एक सब पहली बार दबाओगे वो तो 1 लिख जाएगा, मतलब एक समोसा अगर है, एक बार और
Okay. So leave no hard coded data in the source code wherever possible. Use either dynamic data, the data which is coming from SQL queries, or which is coming from previous requests in case of APIs, or use data in external source like either in Excel file or JSON file. Okay, these three things are related. Yes. TT is a generic code usage. It means that it can accept any data type. it is became the data type independent. I'm going to show you in JSON path example later on. Okay, test your code properly. Use ID option, call hierarchy, or show usage. I showed you earlier, right? Whenever you make such changes, which are big changes, which is impacting lot of test cases, always remember right click, open hierarchy, and then test all those methods before committing or raising a PR. Similarly for IDEA, you can use show usage.